To spear or not to spear? That is the question. Stay.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy, Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football. And I am here with you guys this Saturday afternoon on a very interesting topic, ladies and gentlemen. You guys know I hit you up a couple days ago. Matter of fact, this past Wednesday, talking about the new jersey reveal where we went back to the past and adopted those old school 1991 Super Bowl replica jerseys. They look great. But there has been a little bit of backlash, a little bit of angst about the dark jerseys. And you see the spear here in the background, but let me bring back, these are the Hail Razor, Hail Razor jerseys. And as you can see, all black, people feel some type of way. But the big thing that I want you to focus on is that spear. The spear, it's the spear in the helmet. And I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of people feel some type of way. But let me start it off here. So we want to ask that question: should Washington Commanders keep the spear and the uniform in the whole imagery, using the spear and all that? And I'm going to break this down to you in a second. There's people that want that connection, some of the older heads, me being one of the guys that has been from the past and has remember the Fun Bunch and, Doug Williams, Joe Theismann, and all those great years and being the Redskins. And then there's also the crew that has no clue about Washington being the Redskins and has only really been fans since more towards the later years, more towards this time when we have kind of disassociated ourselves with the fact that that imagery was not paying homage to the actual group in which we were depicting. So this is going to be a touchy one. So I definitely want you guys to get into it. But before we do, definitely got to hit you up with my sponsor, my guy, Anton Benton. Awesome Artisans, does great work. Tune in. I'll catch you on the flip side. Yeah, buddy, that was my guy, Anton Benton of Awesome Artisans. Lives in the Virginia Beach area, but he will travel up and down the East Coast and through the Midwest. Does great work. Get ahead of him for sure. Yo, so we're back. It's your boy, Sean Spencer. You know what I'm talking about. My favorite team, my favorite squad, Washington Commanders. Once and formerly known as the Washington Redskins and also the Washington football team, gone through a little bit of a change in these couple years. And rightfully so, ladies and gentlemen. For a lot of you that remember, a lot of you older heads, the Washington Redskins used to be who we were. That was brought about by, I see, you can't really see the picture up top, but I believe Indian Chief Blackfoot and his family. And there was meant to kind of pay homage, or at least that was the depiction. And there was a number of teams through the years that have had some kind of depiction to the Native American community. And when you really break it down and look at it, we had one of the most, if not the most egregious, which was Redskins. And for those of you that don't know, Redskins was a derogatory term used for Native Americans, basically pointing out the color of their skin, and they were looked at as the enemy, the savages, those ones that came after you and dot. And remember that because I'm going to come back to that one. And it is something that is kind of stayed with the team and it wasn't an issue. And it's funny when growing up, I mean, the Redskins was my everything. I mean, I have so much paraphernalia, so many shirts, jerseys, hats, whatever that had Redskins, and I didn't really think about it. Though I'm a big history guy, and when I went back into history, I did look at it, and it did kind of strike a little bit of a nerve. Didn't really, it wasn't enough for me to switch things up, but it was something that it was kind of okay. This feels some type of way, and one of the reasons why it didn't make that big of a difference is because I didn't bring it upon myself. You know, I looked at them, the Native American people, as a people, and I bought the story that we were paying homage to a group, to a people. Um, but essentially, when you know better, you do better. And I think somebody brought it to my attention, really hit the nail on the head, is that your culture, your heritage, the people in which you come from should not be used as a caricature or as something that is a mascot for a team. And when they hit me with that, that kind of woof, I had to sit back and I had to chill and really kind of go back and think like, is that like how does that play in? So let's dive into that today as we see, and I'm gonna bring this old the helmet back up as we see in the most recent the Hail Razor black jerseys. The helmet has the W with the spear in it. The spear is, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but the spear is trying to connect and put a bridge between the old fans of the Washington Redskins all the way through to the new fans who are now the Commanders and everything. Now, the crazy part is people that were, really young and coming up, you know, in their early years or, after 2000 or after any of that, they don't really have a connection to any of the success of the Washington Redskins. So this to them, I mean, you guys tell me, I don't know, but it doesn't really appear to be as big of an issue to them. A lot of the people that have a real uh, desire to bring it back are people from the older years that want to pay homage to the team that they loved back in the day. And listen, I 100% am a huge fan, diehard fan of the team formerly known as the Redskins. That's who I grew up at. I grew up with. I will always remember Super Bowl 22. And yes, I was super young, but I remember me and my mom sitting there watching it. Bronco Busters as Washington and Doug Williams beats Denver Broncos 42-10, 35 points in quarter. Still, I think the best quarter of championship football in the NFL history, but that's neither here nor there. So I have that connection. The three Super Bowls that we won, Joe Gibbs, the script R on the hats, the paraphernalia, the burgundy and gold, all of those things. So naturally, since we've moved past that, there is and since we moved past that and have not had the same success up until 2 years ago that we had in the past, there was kind of a connection. You want to bring the connection back to that success. Oddly enough, if you take a look at it, if you look at the last 20 some odd years, where we've only had three playoff appearances or something like that, those were also most part Redskins uniforms and jerseys. So that's a kind of negative uh, pattern if you want to look at it like that. But with this being the question, should the Commanders keep the spear in their uniform? There's a lot of different thoughts. I know a lot of people, even not just you know in my group, but I mean a lot of the older people. My granddaddy will sit here and say, "I will always call them the Redskins. That's who always who they are," and I get that. A lot of people aren't necessarily big into change. A lot of people want to stick with what they know, and it goes to that old adage that says, "If it's not broke, don't fix it." A lot of people want to keep that as that is. respect, but like I said before, when you know better, you do better. The spear, the whole Washington Redskins imagery, at the end of the day, was not done as paying homage to a community. It was done to mock a community. It was done to take light of what what was valuable, what was big to a community. This is not something that the commanders came up with. The spear. This was something that used by a people in their daily lives and their hunting and the things that they did. Yes, also would use it for war, but it was something that was very near and dear to them, and us using it is essentially saying we're taking something that's an artifact, something that was valuable to your people, something, and we're using it just for our own thing, so we can appease some people. And there's a lot of people that look at it like, oh, it's nothing, it's not a big deal, or that they're being over dramatic. And there's a lot of people that is seriously have an issue with it. And like I said before, when I spoke to that individual that had the Native American ancestry, they said to me that would you want your history? Would you want the depiction of your nationality to be used as a caricature or to be used as a mascot of sorts? And the answer's got to be no. The answer's got to be no. Which leads me to my next question, and I think it's something big. Are the Native American groups that oppose the use of this imagery being overdramatic? Now, I gotta look. I gotta go right here with, see if I can take and essentially, this is one of the Native American groups that actually came out and said, stop repeating the cycle and listen to the Native peoples who have been clear, consistent, and unwavering on the issue. We are not your mascot. And that's the Association on American and Indian American Association on American Indian Affairs. I mean, this is straight from the people. This is straight from, and I think we have to break this down and really start to understand why maybe they would feel some type. And I think a lot of that goes with what what is the the depiction that is we're trying to reach. What are we trying to show with the spirit? Braves on a warpath, fight for old DC, the Redskins. If you go back and look through history, Redskins were not praised. In fact, if you look through the colonial times and the times when the Native American people were were prevalent in all of what is now America, they were actually looked as savages. They were looked at as somebody that was the enemy. And we've seen as America grew and as more and more people came to this country, the country that they inhabited first, we see all of the atrocities done and all the times they wiped out whole communities and everything. We all know about the Trail of Tears and how many people died along that. And now if you go sit here and say Native Americans or Indians, you have to go to a reservation, or you have to go to maybe some kind of not a festival, but some kind of a certain areas where they'll have events where they'll have Native American people doing the dances and all of the things that they grew up doing and knowing part of their history and their heritage. And we all look at it like, oh my goodness, that's so great. Look at that, this and that. But it's also, in a way, to them, that's life. To us, it's this is it's exciting to see what they're doing. But are we really paying homage to the Native American groups? Are we really paying homage to the people? So somebody I spoke to was talking to me about, kind of how they're feeling and saying it was almost over dramatic that they're sitting here and having issue with that. But one way I brought it to them, and you guys might have an issue with me saying this, so I'm open to any conversation that we're gonna have from it. One of the things that I thought was very interesting with this is being over dramatic. I think for people to say that is kind of it's you're distancing yourself from what is being talked about, is being portrayed. This is a people that's being minimized to what they did in war, what they did to defend their their nation, their defend from inhabitants that were coming and taking their land. Like they are trying to. This is a part of who they were and everything that they did, and for us to then use it as, oh, this is, oh, this is, we're just going to use it as our little thing. It's off. It's disrespectful. It's disingenuous for us to even try to equate like we're really giving credit to these people and really showing love to these people. And the way that I kind of presented it in my argument was, how would we look at it if we took the name Redskins and we switched it and we used it for the other nationalities? And we used the stereotype of that nationality as one of the things that, you know, was the mascot or was the emblem. And I used me, hey, African Americans. What did we, the black skins? That was one of the first times somebody really brought it to my attention on what if they were called the black skins. And I really started opening my eyes. That did make sense. But then when you look at the imagery of the spear, what is the imagery that they would use for us? What, being gangsters, being in a gang or some sort? Rap music, would it be the Washington boom boxes? Or if we're gonna go back to old school, where they really dogged on what are we, lazy? How are we using it? Because we have to remember the spear and the depiction of the spear is in a depiction of war, and that image was always something that certain people would say as it was a fearful thing. You look through history, Indians were looked at as savages. So this is not an accurate depiction of the people, but it is the enduring depiction of people, and this is what we're using for the helmet. Let's go on to other communities. What if we took the things that the negative connotations for other communities and use that as, this is what we're going to do. I've seen a number of little depictions. I'm not going to go all the way down that road. You can make the the examples in your own mind. But what I'm trying to say is that this is taking the negative side of a people, and that is one of the only things that is lasting in the representation. A lot of people will sit here and say, well, okay, what about the Seminoles, Florida State Seminoles, the Chippewas of Central Michigan, the Chiefs? So look, as far as the Seminoles and the Chippewas, Florida State, and in that Seminole area, they have a connection to the university. The Chippewas, same thing. You have reservations, they have connections to that university. Um, I still don't think in the way that it is used now, I think the same thing applies. I think with the name Redskins, that was far more egregious in just depiction the Redskins, because if you look at history and when Redskins were, when they talked about Redskins, it was not in this positive rah rah way. It was in, the Redskins are coming, like savages, evil. They're coming to take, just all this negative stuff. So when you look at it that way, I do think we have to kind of address that. Now, obviously, you keep Florida State Seminoles, they name the connection. I get that. And a lot of people say the Chiefs, look at them. The Cleveland Indians, look at them. Again, it comes down to us making sure that we are not using a heritage of people as a mascot. We are not using a heritage of people as oh, these guys are some type of way. I mean, really, you really got to break it down and put it into your own wheelhouse. I mean, can you do that? If we look at different nationalities, look at the Caucasian nationality. If you use the negative connotation, the negative imagery, what other people think of you that's negative, and you use that as a mascot, then we're talking about totally different things. You know what I mean? And I really think once we kind of break it down, now some people are just going to say this is what it is. This is what I want. I want to make things back the way they were when I was that age. When I was younger and we were winning and blah blah blah, I want to have that same connection. That's going to happen. I get that. I don't agree with it because everything changes, everything moves along, and that is what happens. It's supposed to change when you make your team the image of something that is negatively depicted throughout history. Then it's not right. And once you know better, you do better, you know. And so at the end of the day, having any type of that imagery needs to be addressed. The other part about it, and the other thing that, and at the end, like I would be honest, Chiefs, Seminoles, Chippewas. I've made the argument that at least for the Seminoles and the Chippewas and some of the other Native American communities that might be tied to colleges, that college is partnered with the Native American community, so they are actually contributing to. I still don't think that is a reason that you were able to use the name, image, likeness of their people, but at least they're trying to do something. And I know there's people who said, "Oh well, you know, Washington has helped the certain Native American families and things like that." That's neither here nor there, because at the end of the day, you can tell that we're just using that imagery and that depiction as part of our sport. And the biggest way to say it is you look at the Chiefs, you look at the Seminoles, the Braves in baseball, and they do that chop. Uh, that's I never forget when I first kind of understood what that was and what was actually going down. That's that. If you were to let me just say it like this: you were to go back in the DeLorean, 1985, Michael J. Fox, Back to the Future type. You went back to that time frame. Was it Back to the Future 3, where you went back to 1885? And if you would have went and said to a certain people like this, they would know that, man, are the Indians coming? Are they coming with their tomahawks to scalp you? Is that what's happening? So the tomahawk chop, which the Braves do, which the Seminoles do, the Chiefs do, that is not paying homage to a people. You were actually using something that was something that a lot of people feared, and when they thought of the Native American people, that chop and scalping and the violence of that, and you're using that as a chant for a sports team. I mean, there's no other way that you. I mean, there's no bigger and more just blatant way that you can sit here and take something from the past and use it for your way in the future. I'm gonna be honest, and almost to me is kind of like it's laughing in their face, like, oh look, you had that, yeah, we took you out, and now our great 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 grandchildren are sitting here doing this chop while your great 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 grandchildren, speaking about the Native Americans, are sitting in a reservation. And a lot of people might think over dramatic is perfect for what I'm saying, right? Because a lot of people just want what they had in the past to be the same, and they just keep it there. That's what it is. I'm staying right there. But I can't say it. I continue to say it. When you know better, you do better. When I was a child, I did childish things. I thought like a child, I acted like a child. But when I grew up, when I learned, when I understood, I threw away my childish ways. And that's where we're at now. Listen, it isn't just about a spear. It isn't just about, bringing back the past. The Washington Commanders, once the Washington football team, and then we once the Washington Redskins, changed their name because we came to the realization, and we should have done it a lot sooner, that the Redskins name was not. It was offensive to a people. And when I talked to that person and they were telling me, how would you like it if your nationality, if something that you looked at as something that you cherish, something that you revere, was being turned into a mascot, a caricature for for people that have no clue about the history to sit there and emulate and mock, how would you feel? And I think that's the way you get to wrap it. I know I'm gonna get some flack. I've already gotten backlash from people in my own community that have like, no, I don't recognize them as anything other than the Redskins. They'll always be the Redskins. Do what you do. I completely understand. I am somebody that likes to learn about things, dive into them, and act accordingly. This is one of those things. I think this is a big deal. I think I'm me for me. I don't 100% understand everything of all different communities, but I do know that once I've learned and once I kind of piece together history and how things are played out, if we really were going to talk about paying homage to a community, how about we ain't gonna do this. We ain't gonna give them their land back, so we ain't even gotta go down that road. But if we're gonna pay homage to the Native American community, why are they on reservations? You know what I mean? Why are they a footnote in history? You know, I can go around and say I've seen black people, white people, Hispanic, Asian, Indians from India, and all that. But tell me the last time that you went and said, "Oh, I've seen a Native American person." Why are they put to their little spots? Why was their land repeatedly taken over and over and over? I'm going in something different. I'm gonna bring it back to football. Look, the Washington Commanders. This is who we are now. We are the Commanders, and I for one am glad that we've moved on, at least to some degree, from any of the Native American imagery, and I think it was just a matter of time. And at the end of the day, I've said this. I will continue to say this. The spear, any of that, in getting rid of all that imagery, if we win and we bring back that glory and we bring back those, three Super Bowl victories in 10, 11 years, if we, bring back great names like the Joe Theismanns and the Joe Gibbs and, Charles Manns and all, and Darryl Green and all these great things that we had in Washington, if we do that, then we can put all the rest of this aside. I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people are doing with the spear and trying to bring back Redskins or trying to bring back that imagery is to try to connect to the past, to the Super Bowl teams, to all the glory that we did have. But it's a different time, very different time than it was in the 80s to what it is now. And however much I love the past and I love talking about the Art Monks and Darryl Greens and Mark Rippons and Joe Gibbs and, all those old school things that we had, I have know better, you do better. That's just what it is. Let me know what your thoughts are. I know I've talked for a while, but I will always be a diehard Washington Commanders fan, formerly Washington football team, formerly Washington Redskins. But like I said, know better, you do better. That's where I stand. I know y'all gonna have some choice words for me, and I'm ready for them. But that's why, yeah, I had to speak on this. I had to speak on this. So look, you know who it is. It's your boy Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo. Let's Talk Football. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back this fall for sure. And I hope y'all join us. Hope we get in some conversation about this because, yeah, it makes me feel some type of way, and I'm sure it makes other people feel some type of way. So, peace, people.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders.